Hi everyone, welcome back to this channel of crafting, crochet and knitting. My name is Nikki and welcome to Vlogmas Day 15. So hello, welcome. First of all, I'm just going to apologise for the lighting. I was sat in the lounge chilling with the fairy lights on and with a candle, and I thought it was really atmospheric, and I thought, oh well, I'll just do my recording here today. And instead, for you guys, it just looks like yellow and dark and a bit moody. So I won't record in the lounge again, at least not without the main lights on. But basically, I've just been sat here having a rest, looking at the Christmas decorations I've put out so far. And it is probably time that I start to assemble the crochet nativity. So let's go do that. This is definitely the better lighting, isn't it? Better for you guys at home because you can in fact see now and everything's not yellow, but definitely not as good for me because even though I've still got my fairy lights on and my candle on, it is not nearly as cozy with the overhead lights on, and they're actually really bright and starting to hurt my eyes. So we'll leave it like this for now, but as soon as I have wrapped up here, I will be turning them off and going back into cozy mode. So the nativity is up. The characters we have so far, Mary and Joseph and the donkey traveling to Bethlehem, our shepherds on the hillside with their sheep, and the you might have noticed the shepherds now have their crooks. So I went on a trip to a crafty shop to pick up a few things. I suppose I should probably talk about some of those towards the end, but on this trip I was also specifically looking for some pipe cleaners so that I could make the shepherd's crooks. And I thought I was going to need to buy a big crafty kids crafting kit and spend way too much money on it and not actually need anything that's in there, and end up giving it to one of the various families that we know. And in the shop there were actually individual packets of different coloured pipe cleaners, so that you could just pick, like if your kid's a big fan of purple, you could get purple ones, or if they want blue, you can get blue. And in my case, I wanted brown, so I had two options. There was a lighter brown that had a very orangey tone to it, and I thought that was maybe a little bit too warm. And then there was a darker brown, like a really dark brown, that had a more purpley tint to it. And I did worry about that purpley tint because it didn't look very woody. But in the end, I figured that I was probably still going to crochet over the pipe cleaners, and I was going to end up using a dark brown. So we went with the dark brown, slightly purple pipe cleaners. We used our dark brown to crochet over them, and in the end that just looks like shadow rather than a lighter colour trying to poke out. Like if I had gone for white or pink or something like that, it would have been really obvious, because anywhere that the fluff of the pipe cleaner popped out from underneath the crochet, you would immediately see white or pink. And I thought with this orangey brown, it was lighter than the yarn I was going to use, and you'd end up still seeing it. So we went for the dark brown, and I think that was definitely the right choice. And I got my packet of 10, whatever, took 2 out and thought, oh, these look quite long actually. So I got the shepherd and stood it up next to the pipe cleaners, and I just thought, I wonder if half a pipe cleaner is going to be enough. And I cut one in half, because if it wasn't, I still had loads left. I could use a couple more. And I cut it in half and I started crocheting over it, and I bent it round, and it's a bit short, but I think it's fine. I'm in the interest of just making 2 crooks very quickly out of 1 pipe cleaner, keeping the others for something else in future. I don't know what, but keeping hold of them. And then sliding them into the shepherd's belts, because if I sewed them on, yes, I would probably be able to cut that and take it off if I needed to wash the shepherd in future, but then have to sew it back on again. Sorry if I keep hitting this microphone. I'm still getting used to there being a microphone. So if I had sewn them onto the shepherds, I'd have to cut them off in order to wash the shepherds. But as it happens, just popping it into their belts means I can really easily remove it if I need to wash them. And if they're really, really destroyed, I can just make another one. Rather not make another shepherd, but if the crook itself is destroyed and I can't wash it because it's a pipe cleaner, I can just make another one. So yes, that's where we're at with our shepherds. We made our 7 sheep. Never again. Never again. I cannot stand to make another sheep. They took so long to sew up. They don't really stand up the best. So they all stand up, but some of them are a bit front heavy, and so they lean lower down than you would want them to, and you can't see their faces. So I thought, well, I'm going to sit those ones up so you can see their faces, you can see what they are, and the ones that stand the best, I will stand them up, and the effect is conveyed. So we're going to leave it like that. And then we have our host of angels. So I want to make 5, and I have made 5, but there are only 3 in the clip there because only 3 of them currently have faces, and I don't want to scar any children with a faceless angel. So until I have the time to stitch the faces in, they are going to remain a host of 3, and then they will magically appear one day as a host of 5 when they have faces. I might even do them tonight. I probably have time. It depends how long it takes me to edit this, and whether to include them when I can get that included in the edit before I have to post it to you. So yeah, you might see 2 more angels today. You might see them in a future video. And that leaves us with some Magi, a baby Jesus, and the crochet book doesn't have a star, but I kind of figure that if I'm going to have Magi, I need a star. So I need to find an appropriate pattern for a star, and I imagine that my star is probably going to end up being a 5-pointed one, because I imagine that there's more of those on the internet than there are 4-pointed ones. But I've got no idea how I'm going to suspend this above my nativity scene, because there's nothing for it to hang on. So the star might just be on the ground, which isn't going to be any more thematic, is it? So yeah, I might make a star. I want to make a star. I'm not sure what I'm going to do to hang it. I don't know whether I can make it stand up on top of the inn at all. That would be ideal, wouldn't it? But yes, other than that, it's the Magi. The Magi are very colourful, but also there's some intricate detailing that doesn't look tricky. But after the sheep and the angels, I'm not convinced. So we'll see how well that all goes. I am going to do the major on separate days though, which is definitely easier than the challenge I set myself of making multiple sheep and multiple angels. And yeah, other than that, I'm going to make some more baubles. I want to make some bunting, but I'm also worried that I'm not going to be able to make a whole garland of bunting in one day. And I would potentially save it for a weekend activity, but our weekends have now got various carol concerts and nativity plays and brass bands and carol singing, and a lot is happening. So I'm not sure how easy it's going to be to make bunting, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And yes, the other thing that I have to tell you about is what else we bought in the craft shop. So I have been trying on a lot of my handmade jumpers lately, and basically all of them are too big. Apart from my Christmas jumper, thankfully, because I've only just made that. My autumn one that I only made a few months back, it's probably actually towards the beginning of the year now, wasn't it? But that one is slightly oversized. It's not aggressively too big, but it is oversized. The Moon and Stars one is too big. That's the one I made this time last year. The purple jumper with yellow stars on it is also too big. Well, like again, so oversized. I can just about get away with wearing them a little bit longer. In fact, I've worn that one already this month, but it is baggy. And then unfortunately, many of my other jumpers are completely oversized now. So my cable jumper from several years ago, my garter stockinette coloured striped, but also textured striped jumper that I made last year, has stretched. So part of this isn't that it was made too big, part of it is that the yarn is stretched, but also it's too big. And then there's a couple of other jumpers in the past I made as well. So I'm not going to remake all of these anytime soon because they take a while to do, and I don't want to just go and remake old projects. But the cable one is one of my favorite jumpers, and I've had it for 4 or 5 years now, and varying degrees of success with wearing it because it has been too big or too baggy or slightly too small or just awkward to get out or awkward to wash for a while now. And I do get to use it, but not nearly as much as I want to use it. And so I think that if I'm going to remake any of these jumpers anytime soon, the one that I am going to remake is the cable jumper, which is strange to me because we're moving slightly away from colourwork and onto some different things. I mean, we do have the mosaic knitting that we're playing with, but we're not going to be making a garment out of that anytime soon, unless you count a shawl as a garment. But I do want that cable jumper again. So I might include that in a Vlogmas if I cast it on, but it also might just be my Christmas knitting. So I've got the yarn for that. And then I've also got, well, my husband got me a certain exciting book of different knitting stitches that I probably shouldn't talk about too much because it is technically a Christmas present for me, and so I will have to show you it properly in the new year. But it is rather exciting to me that I am acquiring this book, and yeah, can't wait to talk about it. And then other than that, plans for the next few weeks involve a lot of baking. That, depending on the state of my kitchen, you may or may not be able to see. putting up the tree still, I know, and seeing family. So I won't be recording when I see family because they don't want to be on camera. But yes, quite a few busy weeks coming up, but enjoyable ones, I hope, and hopefully also time to get some rest and knitting related rest, like sitting down, having a calm, chill out knit in that time would be great. So I will wrap things up there because this is getting slightly longer than my usual Vlogmas videos, and join me again tomorrow for more Christmas themed crafting. Have a good rest of your evening and bye for now.